Necessary. Motion number 3 on licences and licensing. I call the Minister to move the motion. Chris Philp.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. It's a genuine pleasure to appear and move that the Draft Licensing Act 2003 brackets UEFA European Football Championship Licensing Hours Order 2004 laid before this House on the 8th of May this year be approved. It is certainly much more of a pleasure than it was answering the urgent question a little earlier this afternoon, an admittedly fairly low bar. Madam Deputy Speaker, this summer the Euro 2024 Football Championships will take place in Germany, and I am delighted that both the England and Scotland's men's national teams have qualified to take part, although I'm sure the House will share my sorrow that the Northern Irish and Welsh teams did not on this occasion qualify, but hopefully next time they will be joining England and Scotland in Euro 2028. Madam Deputy Speaker, the draft contingent order before us today seeks to extend licensing hours for venues across England and Wales in the, I hope, extremely likely event that England or Scotland reach the semi-final or final of the upcoming tournament. I am extremely confident, Madam Deputy Speaker, that one of those, or even both of those teams, will make it through. In fact, I confidently predict it'll be an England v Scotland final when it comes around. That's about the only thing it's probably safe to predict at the moment, given the fevered and febrile speculation currently underway around these parts. So, Madam Deputy Speaker, if England or Scotland, or indeed both teams, reach those stages, this contingent order will extend licensing hours across England and Wales from 11 p.m. until 1 a.m. on the days of the semi-finals, which are due to take place on the 9th and 10th of July, and the final, which is scheduled to take place on the 14th of July. I have no idea if any other significant events may be taking place at around about that time as well. And of course, people will want to watch those games in their pub, and if there is extra time or penalties, or indeed any recounts, then people will want to be able to enjoy a drink while the penalties or indeed the recounts take place. My own experience of a recount in 2010, when I lost a parliamentary constituency by 42 votes, was a painful experience that I am not looking to repeat anytime soon. I know pubs in my constituency will appreciate being able to stay open a little bit longer. Pubs like the Wattenden, the Wattenden and the Pembroke in Coulsdon, the Tudor Rose, the Fox, would all like to stay open, I'm sure. I was just talking to my honourable friend, the member for North Cornwall, who said that the pubs in his constituency would like to stay open as well. Although apparently some of them sometimes play rugby as well as football. Anyway, he's a great champion for pubs in North Cornwall, and I know all of us in this House want to support pubs in our respective constituencies. Now, Madam Deputy Speaker, of course I give way.
Tim for giving way, and I'm very pleased to see the motion before us today. I wonder if he shares my slight disappointment that the quarterfinals are not also included in this motion, given that the first quarterfinals are on the Friday the 5th of July, and there may be other things to celebrate on Friday the 5th of July, possibly a new government.
Well, Madam Deputy Speaker, we have to strike the right balance, and the criteria, I think, for using these orders are events of exceptional significance, and so we've chosen to draw the line at the semi-finals and the finals. As for other events of significance that may be occurring around then, I'm afraid I'm as much in the dark as he is. But I know he will join me in wishing pubs in his constituency well. Hopefully they'll be able to enjoy the Euros in a spirit of conviviality and interest as the tournament unfolds. And I know my honourable friend, the member for Dudley South, former chair of the beer APPG, also sends his good wishes to pubs in his constituency and up and down the land. Now, Madam Deputy Speaker, as the House will be aware, under Section 172 of the Licensing Act 2003, the Secretary of State can make an order relaxing licensing hours to mark occasions of exceptional national significance. That's the very high threshold that I referred to just a moment ago. So the decision to lay this draft order stems from a consultation which the Home Office conducted earlier this year, and over 80% of respondents were in favour of extending licensing hours for the semi-final and final if one of the home nation teams reaches those stages. Responses to the consultation also agreed with the proposed duration of a potential extension, which, as I have set out, would extend licensing hours until 1 a.m. the following morning, and that the order should apply to both England and Wales. The respondents also agreed it should only apply to sales of alcohol from consumption on the premises rather than, of course, off the premises. This order will therefore ensure that premises will be allowed to remain open till 1 a.m. without having to notify the licensing authority, typically the local authority, via a temporary event notice, benefiting both businesses and local authorities. Businesses will save time and money by not having to give a temporary event notices, while licensing authorities will save time and money by not having to process them. Temporary event notices can, of course, be applied for, but it is something of a bureaucratic process. Later closing times will, of course, also be a welcome boost for pubs and bars, with what I'm sure will be a busy time for those fixtures should either England or Scotland be involved. And I fervently hope, as I've said already, that both England and Scotland, since I'm a passionate unionist, both make the final. It is right that I do acknowledge that the police have indicated some reservations about extending licensing hours. Indeed, they say they're not in favour of it, given the potential for increased crime and disorder. Now, we have carefully considered those representations. And of course, while police deployments and resourcing are operational matters for policing, we know that police forces will, as they have done in the past, put in place plans that will minimise the risk. It is worth noting there have been no significant large-scale disorder incidents linked to licensing extensions during previous tournaments, which is a testament to the fact that forces are well versed in managing these matters, and I'm sure the whole House will join me in thanking police forces up and down the country for everything they do to maintain order and reduce the risk of crime. I would also emphasise that this is a limited 2-hour extension to licensing hours, which is a proportionate approach marking these events, and that the contingent order we are considering only covers sales for consumption on the premises after 11 p.m. It does not cover premises which only sell alcohol for consumption off the premises, such as off-licences and supermarkets. Now, Madam Speaker, before I finish, words in a speech I give that are normally the most popular. Before I finish, I will make just 2 further points of clarification. The first is that if either England or Scotland are successful in reaching either the semi-final or indeed the final, this extension will only apply to licensed venues in England and Wales. This is because licensing is a devolved matter, and it would be for the Scottish Government or indeed the Northern Ireland Department of Justice to make arrangements for extending licensing hours in Scotland and Northern Ireland, which I would strongly encourage them to do. Hopefully they need very little encouragement to do that. Secondly, if neither of those teams, neither England nor Wales, reach the semi-final, then normal licensing hours will apply on the 9th and 10th of July. If either or both teams reach the semi-final, but neither team is in the final, then normal licensing hours will apply on the 14th of July, the date of the final. Now, the House will be aware that the Honourable Member for South Shields is sponsoring a private members' bill, which in fact went through, I think its report and third reading stage just last Friday, which the government fully supports, to make these orders, the ones we're currently debating, subject to the negative resolution procedure in the future, which would, of course, rob the House of the opportunity they are currently enjoying to hear my words on this topic, which I'm sure will come as a very sore disappointment. But if that private member's bill completes its passage through the other place as well, it means these debates won't happen because we'll be using the negative resolution. And obviously that law is not in force, and so we're debating this today in the normal way. However, If, as we hope and expect, this order, currently before the House, commands universal support, perhaps even enthusiastic universal support. We'll find out in just a moment when the Shadow Security Minister stands up, and we will be able to determine both his support and his level of enthusiasm. It will give weight to the point the Honourable Member for South Shields and others have made, that debating these orders is not necessarily the best use of precious parliamentary time, given they are pretty uncontentious and generally matters of unanimous consent or assent, and sometimes even enthusiastic unanimous assent. So, Madam Deputy Speaker, to draw these remarks to a conclusion, we've brought forward this order in recognition of the huge interest there will be in the Euro 2024 tournament, and in particular huge interest in the fortunes of England and Scotland, which are dear, I know, to the hearts of many members and members of the public up and down the country. Like all England fans, I'm hopeful this will be the year that football finally comes home again, and I'm sure many members will want to join me in expressing encouragement and support to Gareth Southgate and his team, but also, of course, the Scottish team, who I hope also do very, very well in the tournament. And with that thought, Madam Deputy Speaker, I commend this order to the House.
The question is, as on the order paper. Dan Jarvis.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Can I begin by thanking the Minister for his remarks? My colleague, the Honourable Member for Nottingham North, unfortunately cannot respond today, so I've been brought off the substitutes bench. But to cut to the chase, I'm pleased to be able to confirm to the Minister our enthusiastic support for this motion. Now, Madam Deputy Speaker, football is a positive, powerful force that brings people together. Whether it be the European Championships or the World Cup, international tournaments can bring our nation together. And the Euros this summer will be another focal point and will be watched keenly by millions across the country and indeed around the world. Each of the nations of the UK will have fond memories of supporting and celebrating their national team. And in a world that can sometimes seem pressurised and stressful, these moments have been genuinely joyous. So it's no wonder that England and Scotland, and I sense, Madam Deputy Speaker, I would definitely be pushing my luck if I tried to say anything more positive about Scotland, given...
Just for the sake of clarity, while I'm in the chair, the Honourable Gentleman will not be pushing his luck. He may proceed.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I think Scotland fans, along with England fans, will of course be particularly looking forward to this summer's tournament and hopefully celebrating great success. We therefore welcome this statutory instrument before us to extend the licensing hours of premises by 2 hours should a home nation reach the semi-finals or final of the Euros this summer. Now, many will welcome this change to allow people to come together and get behind their country, and pubs and clubs across the country and the wider hospitality industry will also appreciate this move. The hospitality industry struggled immensely during the pandemic, and many are still suffering with the effects of that unprecedented disruption. Sadly, dozens of pubs continue to close each month across the UK. These will have been community hubs, places to meet friends and family, and an ever more important social space when society can sometimes feel increasingly atomised. Pubs, bars, social clubs are a part of our country serving an important function which we must work together to protect and support. And the opportunity to extend opening hours during what promises to be a very busy period for the sector will, I'm sure, be greatly appreciated. So the opposition is pleased to support these regulations. I do, though, just have a few points I'd like to raise with the Minister and seek assurances on. In relation to the hospitality industry, has the government consulted trade bodies to ensure that the industry is best placed to reap the rewards of this change? It would seem sensible that they be brought into the process to ensure that this is done in the best possible way to support the industry. Many will also have concerns about how this change will be policed. The Minister touched upon that. The recent Netflix documentary, The Final Attack on Wembley, brought into sharp focus again what happened during the Euros in 2021, with public disorder a shameful feature of the latter stages of the tournament. So has the government had discussions with the police or local government to hear any concerns that they might have on these matters, and how do they intend to respond in such circumstances should these bodies require any assistance from the government. They will be on the front line of this change, so their assessment of the situation is, of course, invaluable. Finally, Madam Deputy Speaker, and on a point of process, many were disappointed that an extension of licensing hours was not agreed in time for the Lionesses appearing in the Women's World Cup final last year. Indeed, many businesses say they missed out on increased trade due to the extension not being agreed. The process of agreeing temporary relaxations in licensing laws is perhaps overly bureaucratic and potentially not flexible enough to allow quick relaxations to be agreed in time for sporting occasions. Last Friday, and the Minister, I think, helpfully mentioned this point, my honourable friend, the member for South Shields, steered her licensing hours extension bill through its third reading with government support. Her bill would dramatically improve this process for temporary extensions to licensing hours, so the process is less cumbersome. I wish her every success with the bill as it now progresses to the other place, and I hope that the government will continue to support it in becoming law. In the meantime, the government, football fans and the hospitality industry can all be assured of the opposition's support for these regulations, and I wish both England and Scotland all the very best for the forthcoming tournament. Thank you.
Thank you. Minister?
Well, thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker, and I thank the Shadow Minister for his support, which was given. I'm not sure it was enthusiastic support, but it was certainly intended to be enthusiastic. Well, I certainly take that. I certainly take that in the spirit it was intended. And who knows? Maybe this is the last time we'll be facing each other over the dispatch box. I wonder, for a while. I know Barnsley Central is close to the top of our target list. Ever the optimist. He asked one or two questions about the consultation and the hospitality trade, and they were included in the consultation, which we studied very carefully. And as I said, the consultation was 80% in favour, and I think much of that enthusiasm did come from the hospitality industry itself, which saw this as an opportunity. But of course, they need to make sure that as they have football fans in their pubs and bars, then they need to make sure they're responsible in the way that they look after and serve those customers. He mentioned the disorder around the Euro finals, particularly around Wembley and in central London, about 3 years ago. Of course, we're talking about licensed premises rather than stadiums. So we are confident that the police will be able to operationally manage the extension of licensing hours to 1 o'clock in the morning, should that extension be activated. In relation to the actual event itself, we are working very closely with the German police, and there is a very good policing plan to make sure that we deal with any English fans that we think may cause problems. And there is also a good policing plan around the Champions League final taking place at Wembley between I think Dortmund and Real Madrid in a couple of weeks' time. So the policing of those actual tournament football games is being very carefully attended to. But Madam Deputy Speaker, glad that we have unanimous consent, I believe, on this topic. It's a nice moment of harmony on which to conclude this debate.
Thank you. The question is, as on the order paper, as many as that opinion, say aye. Aye. Of the contrary, no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. And so we now come to motion number 4, relating to the Holocaust Memorial Bill, business of the House. Minister to move.
I beg to move.
The question is, as on the order paper. Does the Right Honourable Gentleman wish to speak on the business of the House motion? Sir Peter Bottomley.
I want the House to know what the government knows, is that were there to be many votes, it would squash out the time between the remaining stages and the third reading. So that's why I'm not going to take time now, because we're using the time that's there. But I do hope that during the debate, government can put on the table First of all, the specification laid out by the government and its agency in September 2015, saying what they wanted the memorial to do, what to be, and the fact they want the local authority to support it. And secondly, for the government to put on the table an up-to-date estimate of the cost of the memorial, capital cost, and the recurrent costs. Because it's within memory of the House, when the second reading debate took place, there was placed in the library an information that in the previous 12 months, the cost had gone up from 102 million to 137 million in 1 year.
Thank the honourable gentleman. So we proceed with, and I emphasise this is not the main debate. I understand why the Father of the House wanted to make that point now, but this is the business of the House motion, for which the question is, as on the order papers. May I, is that opinion, say aye.
Aye.
Of the contrary, no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes